Are you looking for the best gaming motherboards? In this video, we will look at some of the best 6 gaming motherboards on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description. So make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. Asus ROG Strix B760F Gaming Wi-Fi Motherboard. Stepping into the world of high-end gaming with the latest CPUs, there's a real need for motherboards like the Asus ROG Strix B760F Gaming Wi-Fi that can handle both the heat and the heavy power demands. From my personal tinkering and ongoing use, it's evident that Asus put a lot of thought into the power and cooling aspects of this board. Moving on to the cooling, I'm really impressed with the optimized VRM thermals. Those thick heatsinks connected with high-conductivity thermal pads aren't just for show. They seem to do an excellent job of dissipating heat, which is vital when you're pushing a 13th Gen Intel Core processor to its limits. However, the board isn't without its gripes. I've encountered talks in various forums about issues with compatibility, especially around memory and processor pairs. It's true, pairing the 13th Gen CPUs with the right DDR5 RAM is key to avoid the dreaded blue screen of death. And that's something prospective buyers need to be aware of. On another note, I stumbled across some owners' complaints regarding certain motherboards arriving with defects or near-dead CMOS batteries. While my board was flawless right out of the box, these incidents highlight the importance of quality control and after-sales support. It's quite frustrating to think that building your dream machine could be hampered by something like a bent pin or a dead battery. Still, I'm leaning towards the positives here. Once you have all the compatible pieces in place, and providing the quality control gods have been kind, this motherboard really shines. It backs up its flashy aesthetics with solid performance. Plus, the added features like AI noise cancellation and the convenient QLED make it a joy to have in any serious gaming or high-performance setup. In summary, while the Asus ROG Strix B760F Gaming Wi-Fi isn't perfect, no piece of tech is. It excels in power delivery and cooling, which are fundamental for any top-notch gaming setup. As long as you're mindful of the potential hiccups with RAM compatibility and you double-check the condition of your board upon arrival, it can be a fantastic choice for harnessing the power of the latest Intel chips. Number 2. Gigabyte B650 Aorus Elite AX. Starting off with the Gigabyte B650 Aorus Elite AX motherboard, my first impressions were set high with the promise of a feature-rich board packed with the latest technologies suitable for AMD's Ryzen 7000 series processors. However, as with any new tech, the initial setup isn't always smooth sailing, and this board was no exception. While the BIOS update process has been streamlined to a degree, it still feels somewhat outdated that a freshly built system would require such steps before hitting peak performance. I was admittedly a bit frustrated when video outputs weren't working straight away, and the need for BIOS updates before everything clicked into place. It was a reminder that building PCs can still be a bit of a journey rather than a destination. Gigabyte's QFlash Plus is an absolute lifesaver, allowing for a BIOS update without a CPU or memory installed, just by using a USB stick. This feature alone can turn a potential RMA situation into a simple fix, and it's a feature that shouldn't be overlooked. Yet, with every hurdle crossed, the motherboard has proved itself to be a sturdy piece of kit. The magnetic Wi-Fi antenna is an especially nice touch, sticking to the case and out of the way, something I didn't know I needed but now wouldn't want to go without. On a side note, the Easy Latch feature for M.2 and PCIe components, alongside the plentiful USB-C ports, shows a clear consideration for user convenience and future expansion. And although not critical to operation, the absence of an installation guide or necessary screws for mounting was a disappointment. It's these little things that can smooth out the setup experience, especially for first-timers. In summary, while the Gigabyte B650 Aorus Elite AX took some effort to set up properly, the process reminded me the importance of patience and due diligence when building a PC. The hands-on experience, though challenging, has been rewarding with the board delivering excellent performance post-initial hurdles. Number 3. Gigabyte X670 Aorus Elite Motherboard. I recently upgraded my PC with a Gigabyte X670 Aorus Elite AX motherboard to go along with an AMD Ryzen 7000 series processor. The compatibility and performance of this board were key in my decision. I spent quite some time getting everything set up. Below is my experience with the motherboard. When I decided to upgrade my rig with the latest AMD Ryzen 7000 series processors, the Gigabyte X670 Aorus Elite AX immediately stood out as a strong contender. The board's performance and compatibility with these high-end CPUs were critical factors in my decision. I appreciate the 5-year warranty, It's a reassuring nod to the board's long-term reliability. However, let's get into more specifics. The motherboard's commanding power design with a 16+2+2 phase VRM ensures stable and efficient power delivery, a necessity for the newer power-hungry Ryzen CPUs. During testing, I didn't encounter any power throttling and the CPU ran at peak performance without a hitch. As for memory, having DDR5 compatibility is a game-changer in terms of system speed and responsiveness. I initially slotted in 64 GB of DDR5 RAM and the board handled it admirably, even when pushing it to 5600 MHz. That being said, I've noted some reviews mentioning potential stability issues with specific memory kits. It's worth double-checking the motherboard's memory QVL, qualified vendor list, to avoid these niggles. The motherboard's layout and socket design made the CPU installation straightforward. No complaints there. The M.2 Easy Latch feature for SSDs is a small, but incredibly convenient touch, making upgrades hassle-free. That said, no product is without its drawbacks. A few users have reported teething issues with getting their system stable at the advertised memory speeds. Number 4. MSI MPG Z790 Carbon Wi-Fi Motherboard. From the moment I unpacked the MSI MPG Z790 Carbon Wi-Fi, its black carbon color scheme and customizable RGB lighting didn't just catch my eye, they practically insisted on being the centerpiece of my PC build. It's a striking board, definitely aimed at gamers looking for that balance of style and high performance. But it's not just all about looks and game-ready features. There are practical elements too, like the pre-installed I/O shielding and the debugging LEDs, which are super helpful for troubleshooting. What I did find slightly lacking is the absence of onboard audio from the likes of Sound Blaster. While Realtek is the standard these days, having that premium audio option straight out of the box would have given it an added edge. I also noted some concerns over the installation process, particularly the positioning of CPU cable spots and USB headers, making it cumbersome with certain case designs or component arrangements. And a fair word of warning, if you're planning on skipping the Wi-Fi features, you might run into some hiccups when installing Windows 11 due to necessary driver installations. In terms of drawbacks, while the motherboard itself is on the pricier side, the investment does represent a level of future-proofing. Sure, if you're looking at a more frequent upgrade path, perhaps a board with only Gen 4 SSD compatibility might save you some cash. In conclusion, after setting up the MSI MPG Z790 Carbon Wi-Fi, it meets my expectations for a motherboard meant for a high-performance gaming setup. Whilst it has a couple of quirks that could be improved, the overall value for a system that's meant to last a few years is there. And honestly, it just looks really cool, which is always a plus in my book. Number 5. MSI Mag B760 Tomahawk Wi-Fi Motherboard. As I unboxed the MSI Mag B760 Tomahawk Wi-Fi motherboard, the military-grade aesthetics and the solid, robust build quality were the first things that caught my eye. It's not just about looks. The board exudes a sense of durability that's reassuring. One of the main attractions of this board is the support for DDR5 memory and its capability to reach speeds of 7000+ MHz when overclocked. I noticed that enabling the XMP profiles in the MSI BIOS was a breeze, and it gave my system a significant boost without much hassle. However, I did experience some teething issues with the DDR5 RAM kits, which seemed to be a common snag due to the nascency of the technology. The enhanced power design and dedicated features like Core Boost and Memory Boost allow for reliable overclocking with less fear of instability. The provision of dual 8-pin CPU power connectors reassured me that the motherboard is made to handle heavy loads. That said, while these features are robust, there's always that slight concern of pushing things a bit too far, which can lead to system crashes or component damage if not careful. For the CPU, the 12-phase duet rail CPU power is designed to handle high power demands, essential for overclocking. It includes digital PWM ICs, DRMOS, and something I appreciated was the dedicated GT and AUX power phases for graphics and peripheral components. Number 6. MSI Mag Z790 Tomahawk Wi-Fi Motherboard. Upon unboxing the MSI Mag Z790 Tomahawk Wi-Fi motherboard, the first thing that grabbed my attention was its clean, almost utilitarian design. It's got a sleek, low-profile aesthetic offset by the occasional flare in the heatsink and I/O shroud with a slight militaristic vibe. The all-black PCB with subtle gray accents gives it a stealthy look, complementing a variety of case styles and color schemes. It doesn't scream gamer, but it has that subtle edge that I appreciate in a build meant to fly under the radar yet perform with serious muscle. The choice to stick with a more minimalist approach in terms of RGB lighting is refreshing, though I know the lack of bling may be a drawback for RGB enthusiasts. The board's layout is thoughtful, with well-placed headers and ample room around the CPU socket for aftermarket coolers. I particularly like that the Easy Debug LEDs are placed within Easy View, a practical feature that's hugely beneficial during the initial system setup or troubleshooting. The front panel USB headers, ample SATA ports, and multiple M.2 slots for turbocharged NVMe storage options make it clear that MSI is not skimping on expansion capabilities. Yet the board is not without potential hiccups. The placement of the reset buttons near the HDMI/DP cables can lead to accidental settings resets, a little quirk that could prove annoying. Another point of contention could be the M.2 heatsink, which, if you're using an SSD with a pre-installed heatsink, may go unused. Some might see this as a waste or an oversight in design flexibility.